All right, welcome to another episode of Pole Position, the podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Holmes, joined once again by my regular guest, Bryan, Loomis, and Raph Stitt. Thanks, guys, for coming back. This is a new thing. I don't know exactly what order these videos will be out in now. We've recorded two of them already for you guys. Two are about to be recorded with these guys. But we are doing a weekly release of Pole Position podcast now. You may have seen us. Raph and Bryan have joined me several times this season for big overarching discussions about all the awards. But now that we're in the thick of the season, we've got Pole Position Weekly on the website already, and now we're going to be hitting you with weekly Pole Position videos specific to each category. So thank you guys for joining me, and we're going to jump right into the Best Actor conversation. Best Actor is a bit of an interesting race. So I've talked to Val and Ramona last week for Best Actress and Best Supporting Actress, and we agreed both times on who's in the lead spot in both of those categories. It was unanimous. So let's see what we've got here in the number one spot for Best Actor. Personally, I have Mr. Timothy Chalamet. And if I wasn't clear on the past podcast or in my writing, I am writing Timothy Chalamet in Sharpie. It's done for me. He's in. Go ahead and engrave his name on the trophy. Same with Ariana Grande and Jessie Buckley. Those races are done. It's all about nominations now. Thankfully, supporting actor, I don't think we have a finished race, so that will be fun to talk to you guys about. But from my standpoint, I think Timothy Chalamet has this award in the bag. Raph, you came in the podcast with the Club Chalamet as your title, so I'm assuming you have him at number one.
He's number one for me. I am fully bought in on everything Chalamet at this point. I, as of this recording, have not yet seen Marty Supreme, so obviously want to see the movie before making any sort of like grand statements about whether or not he will win and by how much of a landslide it will be. But from what we've seen from this dude from the last couple of years, like it's confirmed that he has the goods. He is becoming the definitive movie star of our time. It seems like things are sort of lining up for this role in Marty Supreme to be his crowning achievement, at least up to this point in his career, which is insane to think that the dude isn't 30 and has already given us like 5 all-time performances. So I'm very excited to see what he does in Marty Supreme. And for me, he's also front runner in this race and kind of the person who I'm pulling for in this race.
Bryan, are you going to make it another unanimous front runner? Do you have Timmy Chalamet at number one?
Front runner, yeah. I would absolutely say front runner. I don't know that I would go as far to say that the race is locked up. Weird things can happen, and we still have to see a couple of these movies get released, especially to feel really good. But the early reactions and the narrative suggests that it's Timmy's to lose at this point.
To be clear, none of the three of us have seen Marty Supreme. Most people have not seen Marty Supreme. It premiered at the New York Film Festival. Raph should have gone to that, but didn't. Whatever. And then it also premiered in LA. So not a whole lot of critics have seen it, but the critics that have seen it are raving about the movie. It feels very much like a Best Picture top 5 or 6. And they're specifically, the reviews are raving for Timothy Chalamet. And in my mind, it seems like from the trailers and the reviews that he really dominates this movie. Obviously he is the titular character. It's all about Marty, and he is Marty. And Timothy Chalamet, again, as Raph said, has been around the Academy for so long, even at his young age. Last year he was probably runner-up for his portrayal of Bob Dylan in A Complete Unknown. I know how we feel about that music biopic representation. But, it just stands to reason. I mean, it feels like it's going to be his year that he gets the award. So
Yeah.
we all have the same front runner in the race. But Brian, who do you have at number 2?
Okay. Number 2, I have Leo at number 2. I'd say it's a little closer, but I have Leo at number 2 for One Battle After Another. I think he's a very well respected actor. He's giving a performance that a lot of people like, and this movie is going to show a lot of strength. Rising tide raises all boats. I think that he is sort of the next strongest contender at this point.
I would agree. I have Leonardo DiCaprio at number 2, largely on the strength of the movie, but also he does give a really good performance in One Battle After Another. Something I've talked about probably on here before, um, certainly in other places, is that One Battle After Another is a bit of a strange vehicle because it doesn't really have a good focused lead. It's very kind of chopped up and kind of spread around, which doesn't necessarily lend itself as well to a win, especially and maybe in some cases maybe not a nomination, but here with One Battle After Another being most people's front runner to win Best Picture at this point in Leonardo DiCaprio's career, I think it's pretty easy to hand him another nomination. Raf, is Leo at 2 for you, or do you have someone else?
Yeah, so 2 through 5, I went kind of wacky with it. I think sort of like conventional thinking would lead me to have Leo be the number 2 based on everything that you guys said. But just to make things a bit more fun here, I'm going to go with a performance from a movie that I don't know that a lot of people have seen as of yet. And it is sort of popping off in a lot of critic circles. I don't know that it will fully make its way to the Academy and Academy voters, but this would be a really, really cool performance and a worthwhile performance to recognize at the Academy. I'm going to go with Sope Dirisu from My Father's Shadow. A really, really, really amazing performance that like fully holds that film together. That film is great. He's amazing in it. It would be so cool to see him get a nomination. So that's who I'm going with for my number 2.
Gotcha. That's very interesting pick, Raf. I do not have Sope Dirisu even on my radar for this, so that would be quite a surprise. Um, but I'm sure the movie is great and his performance is great in it. I haven't seen a lot of chatter. Um, I've seen some chatter for the movie, although I'm not sure if it gets in even anywhere at the Oscars, honestly. Um, but I haven't heard that. Brian, I'm not guessing you probably don't have Sope Dirisu on your list.
I do not, but I'm excited to see this movie. I've heard really good things about it.
Raf, do you have Leo on your list in
In
your
terms
top?
of like he's not on my list, but just I'm just thinking of like performances that I have seen
Sure.
and what has been the most impressive to me this year. And, I'm going to put him in and hope that other people end up seeing this movie and end up seeing screeners for it and recognize that like as great as Leo is and as amazing as One Battle After Another is, if we're thinking about who's doing a better job as a leading performer, sort of like holding together a film, Sope Dirisu is doing a lot more interesting work in that regard than Leo is in One Battle After Another. Obviously, no disrespect to Leo. I love him and that movie and
Yeah,
his performance.
absolutely.
But
No disrespect to Leo. And honestly, I want to bring up before we finish talking about Leonardo DiCaprio in One Battle. I think a lot of people, when they came out of the movie, were saying Leo's really good in this, but it's not necessarily like an Oscar role for Leo. But the love for the movie continued to kind of grow to the point where Leo has just kind of risen up these ranks to number 2. But I saw a lot of stuff right when the movie came out was Leo's great. It's not necessarily a role that he even has to be nominated for. But lack of
Yeah.
competition and movies just popping off with so much love that Leo kind of goes up, I think, to that number 2 rank. Raf, I expect this to be wacky for you. What do you have at number 3?
Yeah, so for number 3, I have a movie that I have not yet seen, but I am very excited to see. Another actor who has been giving us a lot of amazing performances over the last couple of years. I don't know how many nominations he has received, but seems like someone who should be an Academy darling if he is not already. By all accounts, he's great in this movie. I'm going with Jesse Plemons in Begonia for my number 3.
I have seen this movie. Jesse Plemons is an awesome little freak, as he tends to be. Begonia is a really fun movie. I do not have Jesse Plemons at number 3, but I do have Jesse Plemons slipping in at number 5 on my list right now. So we are in accord on that. Bryan, did Jesse Plemons make your 5?
He did not, but I'm betting against my heart a little bit because I really, really like that performance. I think it's great. I think he's doing something um, that's a little maybe against type of, people who are familiar with him from Breaking Bad and see that this movie is about a conspiracy theorist aren't going to expect as much empathy as he's able to bring to the role. And I think he balances that really well, which is really tough to make a character who clearly has elements of social critique, but also is exploring the reasons why this person is this way. And he holds that balancing act incredibly well. So I really like Jesse Plemons in Begonia, but did not make my list.
It's not surprising to me completely. I mean, like I said, I have him at number 5. I think a lot of that could depend on whether Begonia gets into Best Picture. I don't
Mm-hmm.
I don't have Begonia getting in anywhere else. Well, I have Emma Stone in Best Actress for now, but um, you know, Begonia, even though it's deserving of some of the bottom below the line awards, there's so much competition for those this year that I don't think it gets in a lot of places. So you could see that maybe Jesse Plemons will come along with the movie or get left out with the movie. And those audience reviews have been pretty good. The audience reactions have been pretty strong to Begonia after a little bit of a shaky critical start. So we will see. I think it's right on the cusp, but it could be one of those first one or two out. Um, awesome. So, Bryan, you have Timothy Chalamet, then Leo. Who's your number 3?
I've got Wagner Moura for The Secret Agent. So the Brazilian contingent of the Oscars sort of showed its threw its weight around a little bit last year. I'm Still Here won Best International Feature. It got 3 Oscar nominations. So I think that and this is one of the most acclaimed performances of the year. He won Best Actor at Cannes. I have not seen this movie yet, but I'd imagine he's very good in it. And so if I were to, so I've got Leo at number 2, but if I were to pick someone who's more likely to unseat Timmy, then it might be Wagner Moura, because that movie hasn't been seen really widely yet, and I could see it really making a late push where one battle after another has sort of already gotten its push. So that's why I hesitated on that. But yeah, I think Wagner Moura is in a really good position here.
I agree because I also have Wagner Moura at number 3. So far, we're on the same exact page. Um, yeah, I haven't seen The Secret Agent. He won the Best Actor award at Cannes, as we just mentioned. And the Brazil contingent can't be ignored right now. I mean, you hesitate to say it will play out exactly like I'm Still Here did last year with Fernando Torres, but also a lot of the strong acting performances in the Golden Globes this year will probably be classified as musical or comedy. So Wagner Moura could easily win the Best Dramatic Actor, get a chance to make a speech, and once again bring more attention to the movie, just like it happened last year with I'm Still Here. So he seems like a somewhat safe bet right now. Did he make your list, Raph?
No,
I
he did
didn't
not.
think so because he's not that wacky.
Yeah, yeah, not
But
wacky enough for me.
he's a known quantity as well to American audiences, having been in Civil War and some other stuff. So
Yeah,
I
he's not
think,
as far. He's not that
yeah.
far out there. He is. He has been in American projects. Yeah, he's not just a completely unknown international actor that we'll be meeting for the first time. Raph, who do you have at number 4?
For number 4, this is actually a performance that I put in after reading a review that Bryan wrote of this movie. Ethan Hawke for Blue Moon. I have not yet seen it, but based on Bryan's review, it sounds like he's putting together a really interesting performance, probably one of the more interesting performances of his career, if that's the right takeaway from your review, Bryan. But it sounds like it's kind of primed. Ethan Hawke is another person who, not necessarily an Oscar darling. I don't think that he has ever won an Oscar. He's maybe been nominated a few times. Seems like someone who the Academy would want to at least recognize with a nomination after, years and years of being like a beloved actor in Hollywood. And, him teaming up with Richard Linklater again, like kind of seems like the perfect opportunity, or like one of the better opportunities for him to get a nomination.
Yeah, Raph, that rounds out my 5 because I have Ethan Hawke slotted in at number 4. Um, there was a little bit of buzz about him, and then I saw the trailer for Blue Moon, and Ethan Hawke's performance just from the trailer alone kind of made me go, yeah, I really see that. Didn't go to the movie when it was in theaters, just wasn't that inspired to go, although Bryan's review made me a little bit more interested in it. It was already out of theaters, I think, at that point. But anyway, for me, and but Ethan Hawke just gave that kind of performance that the Academy would go for. I feel like, I mean, it is a transformative type of
Oh,
look
yeah.
in a different way. Both, for everything, the body language to the comb over, and all of it. But it's funny because Bryan's the only one of us that has seen it, and his review, sparked that a little bit. And I sent Bryan a Slack message like a week ago after he wrote that review, and I said Ethan Hawke for Best Actor, and at that time Bryan was like, I don't think so. So have you changed, Bryan, or is that still the case?
I still don't have him in there, but I feel like he's on the bubble right now. He could get in. I saw this movie with a lot of old people. Old people love this movie, or at least did in my theater, and they're going
Hell
to love
yeah.
this performance. And there are a lot of old people in the Academy. So I feel like it could do well. I just didn't quite have the space for it, but it is getting some buzz, and it's found sort of its audience, and I think it could sneak in there, but I don't see it getting any other nominations particularly, so it may have sort of a tough path to get in there, but that happens sometimes.
So then, Bryan, we are at your number 4.
Yeah, I've got Michael B. Jordan for Sinners. Um, I think this movie's strength and the sort of muddled nature of things in the back half of the Best Actor. There aren't a whole lot of people who are like, yeah, they're a lock for a nomination once you get past, 2 or 3. And so I think with Sinners being as strong as it is, that Michael B. Jordan is probably in there.
Yeah, I think I have Michael B. Jordan as number 6 and 7 on my honorable mentions. Number 6 for Smoke and number 7 for Stack. Um,
Do we have
yeah,
to do the obligatory 6-7? No.
6, 7. Yeah.
Oh,
I feel like a boomer now. That's the first time that I've actively made that joke. So that was tough.
Michael B. Jordan is, I think, a strong contender, obviously, in the race at this point. Like Bryan said, the strength of Sinners hanging around the way it has. I think when the movie came out, people were again saying it's not really an acting nominations movie. It's a director, writing, maybe, cinematography, obviously score, maybe sound, stuff like that. But as time has ticked on, people have come around to the idea of acting nominations to go along with this movie. I'm still of the opinion. I've seen it twice in theaters. I have not seen Sinners since it hit streaming. I plan to try and rewatch it before Oscars time to get a better feel, especially if he's nominated. My current feeling is that Michael B. Jordan should not be nominated. As much as I love Michael B. Jordan, to me, it's not even maybe it's in the top three of dual performances this year. Definitely not as good of a dual performance in my mind as Robert Pattinson and Mickey 17. I struggled, and this could be considered.
Seriously, Robert De Niro and Walto Knights.
Yeah, he does. I think he clears that based on Raf's reviews. But I haven't seen Alto Knights to say. But this could be considered a character thing, but I could never tell Smoke and Stack apart that clearly through any kind of like body language or anything that really could. I mean, obviously they had a little bit of different outfit to try and signify who's who, but it never really came through that strongly for me. So it didn't come across to me as a really super great dual performance. There were moments that he got where he got to have some, a bit of an emotional scene or two, but it never really got to a level for me that I thought he should be nominated. With that being said, I would be happy to see Michael B. Jordan get his flowers for his career in this moment. If people are digging the movie, obviously that just happens and he goes along with it. That's pretty cool. Raph, do you have Michael B. Jordan getting in the 5?
He's on my top 5. Michael Jordan would be in my starting 5 if we were putting together an all-time, basketball team. But no, for Michael B. Jordan's performance in Sinners, did not make my top 5. As much as I adore that movie, Jacob, like you said, I don't know that his performance is necessarily something that stands out from the movie. He's very strong, and obviously a lot of what makes that movie work hinges on his ability to hold things together in his dual performance. I just don't know that he's going above and beyond in many ways in order to deserve a nomination. It would obviously be really cool to see him get nominated for this, but for me, it wasn't all the way there. And it's like also not the best performance of his career. Like something like Creed is probably a bit stronger. I haven't seen Fruitvale Station, but that's probably stronger. So like we know that he has greatness within him, and I don't know that he fully got there in Sinners, as awesome as he is in it.
I think even this Killmonger too is a stronger performance.
Yeah. I agree with all of that. I think it's going to be, it's a movie star performance where the movie works because he's a strong presence that you want to watch him, and he's very charming. And so the movie sort of hinges on that aspect more than like the giving a moving acting performance. And sometimes the Academy likes to just recognize its movie stars, recognize people that for their body of work rather than for the actual performance, because the movie, it seems like, now is the time when we can nominate Michael B. Jordan because we've got Sinners in the running and it's strong. And so, we can sort of sense, okay, we can get behind him at this point because we liked him as Killmonger or whatever. So that can sometimes happen, and I just don't feel like any of the other there's not enough consensus around any of these other movies at the bottom to where I know they put some stuff about like Academy voters have to actually watch a bunch of stuff, and but everybody's going to have seen Sinners and have thoughts about it. Nobody's half watching that, where people are going to be, half watching Jay Kelly or The Smashing Machine or whatever,
True. I do want to add too that in addition to his lead performance being split between two characters. Sinners has a similar issue to One Battle After Another, where even if you take his two characters as one, their lead role is still kind of split between him and Miles Caton, who I know is probably being considered more of a best supporting actor. But the movie kind of has both of them kind of positioned as a lead of that movie, where it kind of goes back and forth for me. So it's not as strong again. It's not like Smoke and Stack are in every frame of this movie dominating the story. There's a whole lot of it that's about Miles Catone's journey. So it just doesn't quite. That's just a structural thing for the movie. Probably good for the movie and not as good for an acting nomination. But he is getting pretty likely, I think, to slip in. I do want to say, just because we brought this up with at least Raph, I don't know if I brought this up to you, Brian. There have only been, in as far as I can tell, in Best Actor history, there have only ever been 3 nominations for a dual performance and 1 win. Um, rather than having Brian try to guess, uh, those performances, I cannot remember the name of the winner right now, but it was for a movie called Cat People, I think. Um, and then the 2 more notable, memorable performances, probably now, are Peter Sellers in Doctor Strangelove was nominated, and Nicolas Cage for adaptation. So
Oh, good for him.
yes, although
Yeah,
again,
that's
and
a good performance.
I have not seen adaptation. It's in my stack, but speaking with Raph, I think he was probably nominated for the. Even though it's a dual performance, he has one more primary lead role. So
Yeah.
Peter
I
Sellers
Yeah,
haven't seen
he
it
he's
in
has
like
ages, but I think the other one comes in like halfway or more through the movie, if I'm remembering right.
yeah,
he plays the lead and someone who is very much so a supporting character, as opposed to Michael B. Jordan playing 2 leads simultaneously. It's like he
Yeah.
has like 1 or maybe 2 scenes with the other version of himself, which I think is the balancing act is probably not as hard as what Michael B. Jordan was doing, where like Smoke and Stack are sharing the screen together for a lot of that movie.
Mhm.
true, absolutely. So moving on, I think Raph, have we only gotten through 3 on your list?
We've gotten through 4.
Okay, we got through 4. Who's last on your list then?
Okay, so number 5 is where I get really wacky, and it will become more fun once folks also listen to our Best Supporting Actor podcast. My number 5 is Benicio del Toro for The Phoenician Scheme, and it's partly
Oh, I love
wacky,
it.
but I also, in terms of performances that I have seen this year, I do think that that is one of the more impressive ones. It is like somehow underappreciated. It will probably not get nominated because it came out in like April, and by the time the Oscars roll around, folks will have forgotten about it. But it's probably the best performance of his career. Super weighty, very emotional. He is very much so holding that entire movie together, and everything is operating through him. He's hilarious. He's charming, but also is bringing a lot of depth to that character in ways that are like a lot of fun. And I think Wes Anderson kind of like unlocked Benicio del Toro in ways that we haven't really seen him be unlocked as a lead performer. I think we've seen him be unlocked as a supporting performer, but this is probably the best lead role of his career, and it would be really cool to see him slip into number 5, especially over some other performances that we thankfully have not yet talked about.
Eh.
Well, I did not have Benicio del Toro for Phoenician Scheme on my radar as far as someone who's really in the race right now for Best Actor. In my mind, I think that the Wes Anderson dialogue, to a degree, and the structure, kind of, it's like a little bit cold for a lot of people. Obviously, not for everybody, but some of that may keep an actor's performance a little bit at arm's length if it's not in the right movie, which Wes Anderson hasn't had a lot of Oscar success in a while. So I don't necessarily see that happening, although maybe who knows what could catch fire all of a sudden here at the end of the year. Um, Brian, had you considered Benicio del Toro as a Best Actor nominee?
No, but I'm thinking back. I'm trying to remember if Ray Fiennes got nominated for Grand Budapest Hotel. I think he did, and I know that was a Best Picture nominee as well. And it does feel like sort of a similar movie in terms of tone. It does feel a little bit more like the Wes Anderson Diehards loved it, and it didn't get as broad of interest or support as Grand Budapest did. But yeah, I do really like that performance. I think it's really good.
Just to be clear for the record, Ray Fiennes did not get an Oscar nomination for Grand Budapest Hotel.
Oh, okay.
That's
He
wild.
So they
That's
don't,
surprising.
yeah,
he
yeah,
got a
that is
Golden Globe,
surprising.
BAFTA, and Online Film Critics Society award nominations, but not an Oscar. So
Yeah,
however,
interesting. That decision hasn't aged well. How many other performances can you name from that year? You know, I'd have to look at the movies, but
yeah.
I feel like that's one of the most notable of them for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so my 5 right now, because we're about to get to Bryan's going to get his last person in. So my 5 is Timothy Chalamet, Leonardo DiCaprio, Wagner Moura, Ethan Hawke, Jesse Plemons. Raph, give us your 5 one more time.
So I've got Timothée Chalamet, Sope Dirisu, Jesse Plemons, Ethan Hawke, and Benicio del Toro.
Okay, and Bryan,
I've got
who do you have in your 5th? Tell us your 4 and then your 5th.
yeah, Timothy, Leo, Wagner Moura, Michael B. Jordan, and Dwayne The Rock Johnson rounding out my 5.
No.
Locked down for sure since release, but I can still see the Academy going for it. And I think it's a fine performance to go for. There's a lot that's sort of Oscar baity about it, but I do think it's a relatively good performance. And I think the path for him is getting a Golden Globe nomination and some love because the Golden Globes love a star, and then sneaking in there in the 5th spot. Still, I don't think the Smashing Machine is likely to get anything else, but there is some weakness here from other nominees. None of us have Jeremy Allen White anymore after Springsteen didn't do so well, and nothing else is locked enough that I feel like he couldn't sneak in. So he's who I got.
I'm excited to hear Raph complain more
Put it
about
up, but
this.
I don't know if y'all saw it.
I did not see the Smashing Machine. After the reviews, I decided not to get out to the theater at that point. Yeah, I'm with you though, Bryan. He's not far off my list. He was on my list for a while. He was on my list when I made it in March. Obviously, he's got the makeup hair transformation that the Academy kind of likes, where he looks unlike himself to a certain degree. Um, and we don't know about you've seen the performance and you say it's a pretty good performance. A lot of people have said that it's a pretty good performance, but not necessarily Best Actor nomination worthy. But then again, also some people like Christopher Nolan have pushed out there that it's a great performance. So who knows, how people are thinking about this. For the most part, it feels like people aren't talking about it right now. So I have him kind of down, but he's not that far. Raph, is this something you are begging not to see?
Kind of begging not to see it. I'll spare you guys my thoughts about Christopher Nolan, but The Rock is probably more likely than probably 2 or 3 guys who are actually on my list to get nominated. And we know that he's going to campaign the ever living bleep out of this role, which will probably lead to him getting a nomination. I haven't seen the movie yet, but based on like reviews that I've seen and just like chatter around the movie, I wish that Dwayne would just like actually push himself to do something cool as an actor because I know that he's capable of it and not just sort of rely on some makeup and a wig and him like not doing Black Adam to want to be taken seriously as an actor. I want him to push himself a little bit more and like actually do something cool like what he did in like Pain and Gain or something like that, you know? Instead of what just feels like a really cheap push at an Oscar nomination that is like solely in service of continuing the brand of The Rock and not because he's actually interested in roles that are pushing him and like his limits as an actor. So the whole thing to me just like seems kind of cynical, which is why I don't want to put him on my list.
Yeah. Well, that's a fun roundup of the 5, and I think we've talked about most of the real players. I do think Jeremy Allen White is also within striking distance still. Obviously, Springsteen has slipped everywhere, but I think Jeremy Allen White, 1, because people love him from
Yeah.
The Bear and his Emmy success, and 2, because it's still a biopic performance. Even if the film slips out, there's still a
Yeah.
chance that if anything's gonna make it from Springsteen, it's gonna be Jeremy Allen White.
I agree.
You know, George Clooney's still kind of in the mix because Jay Kelly is still not fully dead, maybe.
I
There's
think I think its path is the May December path where it comes out on Netflix and has a bunch of, people watch it and then people sort of react and it, all of the memes and stuff and then Jay Kelly sort of rises. So it still could happen.
it would need to do that because Frankenstein has already gotten a lot of really great audience reactions. Not everybody likes it, but Frankenstein is like a lot of people. I've seen a lot of reviews where Frankenstein is like their favorite movie of the year so far. And so, Frankenstein seems to be gaining steam, which could come at the expense of Jay Kelly in the Best Picture race. But speaking of Netflix, there is one other person that has been gaining a little bit of steam. Um, if his movie can come along, which is Train Dreams, Joel Edgerton is the lead role. That's a Sundance standout that has been on the back burner for a while, but because Netflix has had mixed success with their rollout, there's a lot of people that are starting to get behind Train Dreams as a potential Best Picture nominee, and Joel Edgerton maybe could come along with that in the Best Actor 5. Not sure if y'all were really looking at that, but
Mhm.
it is something to
I
look
think
out for.
that's critic wishful thinking for people who really like Train Dreams, but I think now that Netflix has Frankenstein on the rise that they're not going to put a whole lot of money towards a campaign for Train Dreams,
I
which
do
I'm really excited to see it. I think it might be the best of their slate based on the reactions, but I just don't see it happening.
I do agree, Brian. Like I said, I think Frankenstein, because so many people are not just saying I liked it, so many people are saying I loved Frankenstein, that it feels like that might start to box things out, and Netflix might realize this is where we go, as opposed to House of Dynamite, which got the critical reaction initially, and it dropped and sank, and people just hate it. I mean, some people like it,
Terrible movie.
but it just completely sank. That wraps up our Best Actor race. Thank you for joining us to discuss some of those nominees. Raf, you said you were getting wacky, and we had at least 2 of your wacky picks in common, so it was not that far off after all. Bryan and I were very much on the same wavelength in many ways, so it's been a good conversation. I'm excited. Viewers, you'll probably see us next week, but Bryan and Raph, we're going to stay right here and film Best Supporting Actor, which is a much more fun conversation in my eyes. So I look forward to filming that in just a moment.